Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you today about a couple of things in terms of supporting our mental health. They're things you hear a lot about, and for good reason. They are extremely important and indispensable, in my opinion, when it comes to managing our moods and emotions. And those two things are diet and exercise. Now, you may already be cringing because everyone talks about this stuff all the time, and there's a lot of confusion about both of them. I'm going to tell you from the perspective of a psychotherapist what I think everyone needs to do in order to feel their best emotionally. And in terms of diet, that means eating at least 80% mostly whole foods and limiting three important things: flour, sugar, and alcohol. When I say 80%, I mean it. Nobody's perfect and nobody is an angel. So save that 20% for what you want. And there certainly are a lot of temptations in our culture and in our lives today. I'm not saying that you need to resist all temptations, but I do think we need to make better choices the majority of the time. And I know from my experience that not living that way versus living that way has a huge impact on my mental wellness. So I do speak from experience, and I also believe that not doing those things puts us in a position to be compromised emotionally and mentally, which none of us want. In terms of exercise, I am not suggesting we go out there and run a marathon. I'm not saying we should do anything crazy, but I do think a minimum of an hour of movement a day is critical. I know that seems like a lot. It can simply be walking. That is enough. And I do think we can all find something that we enjoy enough to do at least an hour a day, 6 days a week. I debated with myself when I was preparing for this video about whether or not to say 30 minutes or say an hour, because I didn't want to scare anybody off and say, oh, it's an hour and it's so much and now everyone's just going to give up on it. The reason I chose to say an hour rather than 30 minutes is because 30 minutes is good and it's better than nothing, absolutely. But an hour provides substantial extra benefit, particularly if that hour is spent outside. It is another belief of mine that spending time in nature is essential to maintaining optimal mental health. So if we can move our bodies in nature, we're kind of getting a double effect, a double positive effect, and a double whammy for our brains. I don't think, again, that we can incorporate all of these things immediately. I'm not suggesting that you wake up tomorrow and start eating completely, a different diet and start exercising an hour a day. That's not realistic. I'd never suggest it to anybody. But I do think that we can make small incremental changes and build on those. See what works, use that, discard what doesn't, and over time, maybe give yourself a complete year to effect these changes. Just very slowly, very small steps, one at a time. Take what works, discard what doesn't, and by this time next year, if you do start tomorrow with tiny steps, you're gonna feel like a completely different person. That's a guarantee. All right, guys. If you have any feedback for me today, you can always find me on PsycheFinder.com. I welcome any suggestions, questions, debate, any discourse of any kind. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.